Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back. It is the final day of the PUBG Continental Series 1 for North America as we determine who takes home the lion's share of the $200,000 grand prize and, more importantly, bragging rights as the rebirth of PUBG Esports inside of the COVID quarantine era is underway. This could determine international invites down the line once restrictions are lifted, or it could determine props and everyone's excitement going into round 2 of PCS. So let's take a look at the format and everything else you need to know as we get started on our last 5 games of this series. The schedule is interesting. We are done. You may notice Friday the 3rd is the end for North America. We will crown a champion in the first region to do so, but that does not end the PUBG. Tomorrow and Sunday, you'll have APAC, Asia, and Europe finishing out their tournament phases, and I can tell you they are going to be a lot of fun. It is wall-to-wall PUBG, ladies and gentlemen, so don't forget, it's all on the same channel, it's all in the same place, it's all there for you. Today is the final day. Day 4, match 1 will be in Miramar, 3 of those, and then 2 to Erangel to wrap everything up. It's the super point system. It's been like this for a while, but if you forgot, first place is worth 10, 6 and below from there, and of course 1 point per kill. And I'm going to be honest with you, I expect kill points to be a tiebreaker yet again. The prizing is $200,000 on the line. First gets $50K, drops down to from there to the consolation prize of $2,000 for 15th to 16th place. But here's the kicker, 12.5% of all in-game sales that you spend on those sweet skins for PGC1 go to the teams, equally distributed among the participants. So it is not determined by the voting, etc. It's determined by participation and being here. And I am not here alone. I am here with some excellent analysts who also are some of the top casters in the region. I've got Clover and Godspeed joining me as we get ready to talk about some serious PUBG. Good afternoon or evening, depending on what part of the country you're from, guys. I'm glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. I mean, we've been building up for this for a really long time, and the end is finally me. So,
wow.
Hi, Godspeed.
I'm good. I've just Clover. I'm gonna be honest. You came in with low energy. You really sapped some of mine out there.
You guys and everyone at home. Right before we went live, my cat jumped the door and has been standing at my feet, and I'm just trying really hard to keep a straight face. So that's really what's going on here.
I'm impressed with a lot of things. I'm impressed with your cat jumping over a door. I'm impressed with you keeping a straight face in this situation, and I'm demanding that we see the cat if the opportunity presents itself. I am not one to force a cat to appear if they don't want to, but if they try, welcome them. All right, let's talk about where we're going today. Yesterday, it was absolutely incredible. We had so much fun in sort of a unique return format in terms of, we've never done this before, where a final had a 5-day break between the second and third day of play. How do you think that affected yesterday's performance by these teams? Clover?
You know what? I don't think that maybe that's the thing that affected. I think that a lot of people really kind of came in, you know, with the same mindset that we saw last week, but I think we're able to pop off a bit better. Teams that usually perform really good on Erangel, we saw kind of bring it yesterday. But that said, I mean, it's the last day now, and so I think the attitude for some of those people that are really close could be a bit different. But I don't necessarily think it's the break. Godspeed, I know you and I have kind of talked about this a lot as well, about those 5-day breaks, and what's your kind of take on that?
I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm pretty sure I speak for Hypoc as well here. Yeah, those breaks, that's an excuse. I don't buy it at all. We had a 5-day break in between every week of MPL. A lot of these players played in the MPL. I don't buy it. I don't think if anyone uses the 5-day break or any break for that matter as an excuse, I think it's just that. It's just an excuse. Underlying other issues, I don't think it has a factor at all. These guys are, at this point, have been playing this game at this level for this long. They should be used to it.
I mean, I think it's similar to circle excuses, right? At the end of the day, sure, it might affect your momentum or cause a little bit of a hiccup, but yes, you are professionals. This is top performance stuff. You need to be able to adjust and roll with the punches. I mean, we're talking about a scene where, like, Remember the early days when a server would go down and you had to like sit there cold for 15 to 20 minutes while something would get fixed, and these players could deal with those sort of situations. I think you can deal with some comfortable time off to talk to your coaches. There was some discussion lately of coaches becoming impactful or non-impactful and sort of where they fall. I know Dids, who's coaching FaZe, used to coach here in the U.S., recently released a video about sort of the value of coaches. Are there any teams, Godspeed, that you think they really stand out? They have coaching staff that has made a difference for them, and if so, who?
I mean, I think it's really obvious, but STK. I think Gunner has. I mean, we've talked about their support system in the past. Obviously, they have an incredible support system, not only with friends but family as well. But I know that Gunner puts a lot of effort into the way that he handles their mental state. You know, the drills that he may put them through, just the way that he talks to them and gets them mentally prepared. I mean, I've dealt with Gunner in the past before, so. I just think Owen is a phenomenal asset to that team, and I definitely think that at this point in North America, at the very least, he is the top guy as far as coaching goes.
Clover, I know that I'll come back to you. We're going to add a little bit of a video, but after that, I want to talk to you about challenger leagues and some of the lower teams and the challenges of not having a coach. Before we do that, though, let's take a look back at yesterday's play and what made it so much fun.
Very bad rotation for 303, and Landune, he's getting shot at. Good shots by Fizzle. Oh, I did not expect a knock to happen.
It has a high ground advantage. Meanwhile, Hart just finally do spot out beams, but he doesn't even care.
Microfire also goes down, so it's not. They didn't get that kill for free Exodus, and I think it's by himself.
This compound actually still in. Yeah, Super Love is going to push up here. Reload goes down. Bale's still at the top of the stairs. There you go. Tanaka will finally trade that.
Jace is trying to get out of there. Let him be, but nope, not going to happen. 303 want this kill. Oh.
They fought. Look, Fable was such a drawn-out fight. They eventually gave up. Ice Tech. What? How? Civ got too aggressive. Alo is low. He's trying to hold the spray. He gets one. He gets it. What? That's two. They're down. But so far, he has been playing out of his mind. The drop down, the spot down, the burn down.
Last member up. Finally does spawn him, but Nate goes for the pick around as the door is in the way. Big exchange back and forth and steps right into the bullets. But waiting on the outside of it's going to be Batty and it's just a bounce between smoke to smoke. Who's going to see who first? It's going to be Jazza. Spots out one.
Oh no! 303, let's talk about it. He gets hit by the car as Elusive makes impact. If that's what he was going to be waiting for, so he tries to make the bait play. He gets it, but the blue damage, he does survive.
Defense. They don't see him.
Oh!
They don't see him here.
Big plays coming out. Ranger tries to defend
Oh
it
my
up.
God.
That's two members already down for ATC.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. I mean, the Exodus ended up with 10 kills.
Sorry, what was that? He's trying to figure out exactly where Radiance has repositioned to. Radiance has been putting in a ton of work in this game, trying to make a round side of it. Gila gets one of them, but cannot get that second one.
To get him, he's going to get inside the blue, secure the kill. Does he know someone's in the smoke? That's the big question.
Drive the car! Drive the car forward! Drive the car forward!
Drive forward!
Drive forward! Oh no!
No! Grizzly finds the angle.
Yes, you will, but you can't. What? Can he do a 3v1? Looking to the high ground, left and right. He spotted Snakers, opens fire. Knows he had to take the risk to try for the relocate. Goes up to the left. He's going to spot Wolf. Wolf has no idea. He gets him down. It's a 1v1, but with a little bit of health. He goes for the spray. Gets the peek on Relo. Relo puts his head out. Jumps out the back window. He goes for the fire, but Relo gets it. What a day yesterday was. I had a ton of fun casting. Got to step out of my normal shoes for a little while and have a good time. I enjoyed it. Let's talk, though, real quick. I know leaderboards are on the way. The plane is almost in the air. Clover, I do want to ask you, though, do you think that some of these challenger teams or newer teams on the scene, like, say, Fable, who's recently made the come up, struggle or have an additional challenge because they don't have coaches like Gunner sort of pedigreed into them?
You know, I think that it is a bit of a factor. You know, one of the things that we did talk about with challengers is that they're not used to playing at a higher level, or they don't have that experience with them on that team, and sometimes can get them stuck in this almost scrimmage mindset where they're really not being able to progress past that. I think Fable kind of figured out how to evolve past that block, and we've really seen them bloom here in the finals. That said, I mean, we often talk about IGLing and how important that is to a team, but I think that you're right. The teams that have really successful coaches are the teams that just seem to have the extra edge, and the ones that we've really seen a lot come from, at least out of the NA League here, and you know, as well as the European League. I think some of the best coaches in PUBG are out there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can agree with that. Let's take as we pull the leaderboard up, I will say I've yet to see a David Moyes or a June Jones, a coach that specializes in helping teams transition from sort of the lower league to the higher league and just kind of mercenaries between teams and helps them with that transition of mentality. I keep waiting for that to pop out. Let's take a look at the overall leaderboard. Shoot to kill at 135, wildcard at 130, Zenith at 115. Let's just go straight into board talk, Godspeed. Shoot to kill is still in the lead, but it is not quite what it was yesterday.
No, and considering what they came in with from last week into this week or this weekend, it's a little worrying just to see them not garner as many points as they should have. I mean, they pretty much started with triple digits and they were pretty ahead of the pack, and you know, obviously wild card with a huge day, Zenith catching up as well. It's not going to be easy for Shoot to Kill. I mean, we've talked about it time and time again. Is this going to be the event they ended up closing out? It's very possible. I think they looked phenomenal the first 2 days, and they need to look phenomenal today in order to close it out. Otherwise, you know, I do think they will be overtaken.
And now we had a chance to talk a little bit before today about standout teams from both weekends, and all three of us came to the decision that it had to be Shoot to Kill. We talked about them, but they do have 3 chicken dinners. They have incredibly high placement. They have the highest kill count on the board right now. They have been an absolutely unstoppable team to a certain extent, Clover.
Yeah, I mean, really, there's not a ton of aspects where they look bad, except for when they just kind of have plays fall apart, which we did see, unfortunately, a lot of yesterday. They only put down 22 points on the board during yesterday's game, but, I mean, we had a couple other teams that also were a little bit weak in that regard. So, Shoot to Kill, Purdy, Alo, Luke 12, Uncivil, these are your top damage leaders, your top kill leaders. They're constantly in that top. We just need to see them get a little bit more placement points and maybe, I think, kind of do a bit better on those rotations. That said, yesterday we had an extra Erangel game. Today we're kind of going back to Miramar, and at least what we've seen in the latter series, that's where their performance is a bit better.
So I've got you here. Let's pivot to today. Who do you think is the underdog? It's already up. Tell me about why they're the underdogs for play today.
Oh, I mean, Houston Hardships have been just a silent threat to the leaderboard throughout everything. They have yet to take a chicken dinner, but they have placed up in the top 5 repeatedly. In fact, they've had a lot of number 2 placements where they just haven't been able to get that chicken dinner. Chuba has been leading damage constantly. Anytime that he loses that lead, he takes it right back. Maluk had a really nice day yesterday with a couple of really good plays. I think that if they can wrap it up together, this is really going to be a team that could upset everything.
Nice. All right, so if we talk about the underdog, Godspeed, tell me who your X factor is today.
I mean, it's got to be Radiance. Obviously, there was a point in one of the Miramar games where they almost threw it all the way. But that being said, I mean, this roster is just, it's so hot and cold, but the capabilities are immense. And especially the fact that we have 3 Miramar games today, starting out with Miramar, I think they definitely have a potential to really shake up the top 5, if not even the top 3, depending on how well they can do and how many kills they can actually rack up. And this is a kill heavy roster. So for me, it's Radiance. They could potentially...
Well, let me ask you this. Is it a strength or a weakness? Because to me, they seem like a duo roster. McCoy and Battylol and Los and Waldo, more than, say, a team, in my opinion. Is that do you feel the same? Or
cannot really agree with you anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
you think they've come together?
I think it is a duo roster. I think it's McCoy and Batty and then Los and Waldo. So I feel like when we have seen them come together, that's when they've really been dangerous and that's when they've really been strong. Other times it just seems like this kind of split personality within that team, and I don't know if that's necessarily what's actually going on, but there's definitely some push and pull, and that's why we've seen them, you know, kind of be cold quite often rather than just being on all the time.
Clover, have you ever seen a situation where a sort of 2 duos making a squad roster works?
I mean, I know that we've kind of always talked about the Sonics and how whenever they are down to 2 players, it doesn't really matter how the matchup works, that they two-man squad, we've seen them come out on top against multiple teams. And so I think that if the chemistry is there and the confidence is there, that's not necessarily a hindrance. But I mean, I do kind of also agree with some of the other things that Dustin said, is that sometimes when everything comes together, we see them look really healthy. A lot of the Radiance wins that we've seen have Miramar have also been when the circle has kind of worked a bit in their favor. They've had 4-man up, and so I guess we'd say the formula for success is there and not wasted. But that said, you know, I kind of want to believe a bit. I think that they've had enough time now to really figure out their game, especially on Miramar, and that's going to be in their favor today.
All right. I like that. Good assessment. Let's talk real quick, because the plane will be in the air soon, about our picks. I want to know who you think is going to win. If you want to change from yesterday, I'm asking everybody, you're welcome to change. I am going to quadruple down on my Oath pick. I started the week with that. I'm going to stick to it. I know it may be crazy, but they were 12th yesterday. They've moved all the way up to, I think, 6th place. And I will say, they've only had 3 finishes outside the top 10. So the potential is there for me, and I am a firm believer in sticking where you start. And so I'm going to stick with my pick of Oath winning this thing. We'll see what happens. Clover, who's your pick?
You know, I'm going to go with Shoot to Kill. I think that the second place curse is going to come to an end tonight. I've really seen so much come from them. I know they had a bad day yesterday. They only put down 22 points on the board yesterday. I'm kind of hoping that that was their off day. Today they're going to come back and bring it. And maybe we'll see. I mean, right now they're in the lead. I want to see them hold it.
You know,
Gatsby?
I just look over there to Toffee's and his pick. I'm like, what an idiot. Yeah, I'm going with Oath. I think Oath actually has the ability to win this if they can just close out with all the wins that we've seen in the past. I mean, they've had some crazy strings. What was it, like 3-4 wins in a row? I think during it was ridiculous. Is it going to be easy for Oath? No, not even close. They have about, I think, a 36-point gap to close just to get to where first is currently now. So they're going to have to have a massive day. But I believe in the boys, man. I'm still an Oath fan. Yeah.
You got to. Some say easy for Ents. I say never easy for Oath. But it is always easy for these two gentlemen who will be bringing us all of the action in our first match of the day. It is a scintillating duo of Matchroom and Hypoc with the call.
Thanks so much, Toffees. And yes, we are going to be taking you through the first 2 games, and they're going to be on Miramar to get everything started. My name is Matchroom, and I am joined by Hypoc over here off to the side of me. Hypoc, you ready to get our final day of games underway?
Dude, I'm ready for it. Final day. This is the culmination of the last 2 weeks, and I mean, hopefully, I am low-key rooting for Shoot to Kill just after yesterday's performance, but by God, I'd love to see Wildcard clutch up today, but we'll have to wait and see.
Ooh,
like
man,
you said,
that'd be spicy.
Got a couple of Miramar games to get out of the way early, which I know has been a bone of contention for a lot of teams, so I'm excited for it, Matt.
All right, well, we've got the plane up in the air. Let's move into our first round of the day. You can see about halfway through the plane path right now. A lot of people jumping early as it's going to be going way back down towards the southeast and ending up pretty much around La Cabrera, going up towards the northwest. So unless you're like a Valdemar team or a Campo Militar team, to be honest, we don't have either one of those. You should be fine.
Yeah, it's not too much off the table here in terms of drop spots. Zenith taking a bit of a wider pattern actually for their drop, Matt. That's interesting. Well, again, Zenith, one of the teams to talk about, is one of our best performing. Of the 3 strong performing Miramar teams we've had, Zenith being one of them. Their averages per game have just been absolutely insane throughout. The circle does pop down just off to the southwest. Yeah,
you talked about how much you loved this circle yesterday. So much.
I distinctly remember saying it was my least favorite Miramar circle, but we'll roll with that for the time being. But yeah, there's actually a lot of. Actually, we got Profi and McCoy scrapping up early. This is an early loss for Radiance going down. That's not the start you want to the day. Again, Radiance.
Unless you're a Sonics fan.
Well, unless you're a Sonics fan like me, yeah, it's unfortunate to see that with the flush coming out from mine with the pump.
This is such a weird situation because naturally we're around Picado. Mime's off to the side of it. The rest of Radiance is back down towards the south around the Church of St. Lo's. And yeah, why was
That's a
somebody
little bit
over
of a flex from McCoy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. It's not usually we say maybe that is just a reactionary drop to the plane. Obviously, we did say the southwest corner of the map is going to be the least attainable, but they definitely had an opportunity to get to their usual drop pattern. So you're absolutely right, Matt. It's pretty surprising to see McCoy go down there in the first 2.5 minutes. Over here, Waldo just a bit further to the southwest of where we just saw McCoy get picked off, and Radiance will be starting the day out as 3. Just coming back to just talking about the top 3 Miramar teams we've had, there's Radiance, Zenith, and Wildcard actually that have had the highest average points per game across the Grand Finals, and Radiance actually being the top performer. I know they talked about this on the desk earlier. We do have a Miramar heavy day today, so which I believe potentially is a big factor for some of these teams looking to claw some points back today.
Well, we've got a lot of names that people are familiar with not doing so hot right now, as you can see on the left side of the screen with the leaderboard right now. Shoot to Kill had pretty decent lead moving into yesterday. Now just 5 points behind them is going to be Wildcard. I know Wildcard is not necessarily a team we spent a lot of time talking about last week, just because of the fact that they had standout moments, but it wasn't just like something just utterly wow you on a regular basis. Yesterday, on the other hand, it feels like they've gotten their game together. They're playing in, I always hate to say that sentence, a more confident style, but they really are. We saw them taking very aggressive trade shots, going for plays, trying to get pushes out. These guys were just very much in their zone yesterday.
I mean, we've seen Penta and Jazza have just looked so good every time the camera goes onto them. It seems like they're coming up clutch in the situation. Jazza with that. Well, it was actually Jazza and Penta that shut down that Radiance push yesterday. Ultimately, they ended up going out, but by God, did they make it hard for Radiance. Absolutely shutting that push down. I know McCoy had to pull all the way over from the west just underneath Church, but Penta and Jazza have just looked so good every time. We saw Jazza coming up clutch in those Orango games against, was it the 1v3 against Zenith we saw on the side of the hill?
What is this? We've got Liberate all over here rotating right next to Sonics, who just ran past Radiance. Wildcard is coming up back behind this, so we could have at least a 2-way fight, potentially 3, as H1 does get vision back on Liberate as they're rotating, so going to force them out just a little bit. Boffy's playing back along the hillside right now, so Liberate's kind of gotten split out based off of this rotation. Looks like they're going to opt back over towards the east, maybe make their way back near Los Leones. Should give them a little bit of breathing room, but we almost saw this get a little bit more, I guess, troublesome for several teams as they all kind of intersected at one point, but Sonics do come up on top of it.
Yeah, that was almost unfortunate timing there. It looked like H-Win just went for the direct send to the compound. You can see Guabi pulled up to try and scout it, maybe just make sure it was safe for his team to pull in. But the position he stopped at, H-Win just dipped past him on the 2-seer. Obviously much better in the terrain here. Meanwhile, we've got Taylor J from Exodus. We saw Exodus struggle with this compound yesterday, and it looks like Taylor J still has that lingering in his memory because you can see him just dipping out.
What is this parking job? What is this? You can pull it forward just a little bit more, man.
I guess he's ready to scrap when he pulled up, Matt. He's not too bothered about the park job, but Taylor J going to get himself back up towards the hangars. Meanwhile, speaking of Exodus, you got Microfy up here next to Sub-Zero. You got 2 members of Comets down on the low ground, but not sure if he's going to opt to pressure this.
So this is turning a little bit problematic for Exodus. You can see hopping in the vehicles right now as there is a fight that's breaking out down next to Taylor J. So they're trying to make sure that they get to a little bit more of a point where they can do reinforcements. Exodus was running pretty separated right now, so they're trying to regroup, but there's a lot of third-party action. Almost at this point, you'd call it fourth party. Remember, we did see that Elusive was getting caught up into a little bit of a fight. Taylor J is already down on the ground. We saw him have some big plays yesterday, but now he's in a little bit of a troubled spot. He does manage to take down NA, but reinforcements are coming up back behind it. J All Day does take down Taylor J, so coming out being, I guess, the prime J of the day so far. Going to go ahead and toss out the grenade, take him down, and Exodus doesn't have a lot that they can get as Drassel's not going to have an angle to provide too much support on this.
Yeah, J All Day actually desperately looking for the flush here, but Drassel's going to get picked off by Victor at distance. We've just talked about Comets being up next to Microfire, and you can see they've got an angle straight into Drassel's warehouse. Microfire coming down into Bronco, going to try and get this res off. You can see Yaxley looking to try and pressure this on the minimap as well, but he's taking fire from a different direction. Actually, I think that's Comets shooting over his head, so this might be a bit risky here. Drassel's already taken a tag, so got to stick that res fast if they want to get Drassel back on his feet. It looks like they're going to get it. Yeah, this pretty safe angle to stick the res there.
And this goes back into Comets being a little bit more active in the early game. We saw them be very calm usually, especially like through the past year or so that we've been able to see these players, they were much more about like, okay, let's just try to get to the late game and then try to win the last fight. The past couple of weeks, we're seeing them be much more active in the early game, and you can see harassing really Exodus, denying a lot of rotations, denying them to regroup, and so Exodus did lose one player and almost lost a second based off of that.
Yeah, it's I mean, those hangars are just sometimes such a nightmare to try and pressure anything south. You're so exposed to the north. Obviously, there's 900 windows from Los Leones that can see you as well, especially in those high-rise buildings. So they're going back on his feet, though. Not the end of the world. Got Kurt paving the way in the bus. Luke 12 following up behind him.
Looks like he's kind of just going to reposition back over. That's a 2-2 split coming up from shoot to kill right now. The other members about 700 to 800 meters back behind them to the north of Los Leones, whereas shoot to kill's other two members are holding down closer towards the west. Looks like they're getting a little bit of information. You can see Liberate and Sonics off in the distance over there. We saw a little bit of a skirmish with them just a second ago. You're starting to get a little bit of a feel of how the center is starting to stack up. On the other side of this, it's going to be Illusion that's going for a far southern rotation. Still going to be in circle, but going down pretty close to Los Higos. Not going to have any teams really near them except for hard shifts that we saw just a little while ago, so should be pretty safe as long as they don't decide to send it straight to center.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, we talked about this on the southwest side of the circle, going to be the most open due to the plane path, and Illusion, I guess, reading into that pretty well. Whether or not they're going to be able to get themselves a good compound looking into Circle 2, we'll have to wait to see the phase. I think we're about to see it, so where are we going? We're going back, actually, yeah, a bit of a northeast shift here, so pretty much the northwest tip of Los Leones being centered. So
you feeling an urban ending here?
I was going to say, eyes back towards STK and Comets, but we could potentially be looking at the Leones ending. That's going to be an interesting one to start the day off, Matt.
Oh my God, if we end up having everybody have to crash Los Leones and have a party in there, it's going to get hectic fast. A lot of these teams are already opting into positions to potentially make their way back into that point if they have to. Wildcard looks like they're just going to kind of slow meander their way in here, see if they can get a little bit of information, and run down what would be the most terrifying thing to drive down on the face of the earth in real life. You imagine that, just like dropping down at almost, I feel like that's almost 160 degrees or something like that. That's almost a roller coaster ride.
Sharp Shot making it look easy, though. Easier than his use of utility in the last couple of days, though, because we've seen the poor lad go down to a lot of utility missteps. Actually, no, Penta's actually going to crash into half of the STK split here. You see Kurt's going to shut him down immediately with the M4. That's Wildcard losing one just to Circle 2 pops, and that's not what you want for our team. We're hoping can make things happen on the last day. Whoa, actually, Sharp Shot taking a lot of damage on the way back into the compound.
Going to force them way back over towards the west, close to the edge of the circle. I mean, not super close to it, but not in a comfortable position. So Shoot to Kill doing a good job of defending this western suburbs, I guess you could call of Los Leones right now, with just the two-man squad. Remember, they still have their other two back behind him. What is going on here?
What?
Ranger just rolls right up next to Fizzle, and Fizzle doesn't take him down. They were both out of the... Whose car is that? Did Ranger steal it from him? I'm super confused on what just happened.
The real question is, what is Fizzle doing outside of the compound that far, just sat in between trees? It's
I don't know.
This man's just flexing out, looking for some rotation. I mean, I like it, but I mean, it would have been nice to see Ranger pull up within 5 feet and actually get punished for it, but unfortunately didn't land the shots there. Fabled down in the valley here, taking some shots from either side. Two up on the two-seater. I guess just doing a little bit of scouting here.
Not a lot of clean paths to make their way back over towards the safe zone. Looks like they do manage to find a building right on the edge of it. You can see that maybe they'll stop here. They still have several members back outside that might try to rotate their way in. Hello's going to be coming up back behind this, but you can see that's going to be Sonics as well as Radiance, with the potential of hardships also taking a couple of shots at them to really hold them out of this position. Meanwhile, Oath has just decided information is the key to victory right now, and they're playing back over towards the east of Los Leones, looking back into the city, trying to see if they can spot out anybody that might be rotating into the city.
Yeah, really good spot to hold early on, especially if they're expecting it to come back to Leones. Obviously, if any teams do opt to kind of wrap in from the south or the east, Oath's position here, a fantastic spot to punish any of that. You can see actually they're sending shots over towards Tactical 8 at the campsite. Ooh, actually going to land a little heady there.
Well, we do see the fact that Elusive's also running, not Elusive, sorry, T8 is running a 2-2 split, and they have Elusive that's right in between them at the time. The other side of T8, you can see looking at Elusive as they're making the rotation. Good shots coming up from Steezy, going to go ahead and get the drop onto him, and a quick flush as well. Vehicle's also got to roll back down the hillside, so that's not going to be a resource that they can use for the later section of this game. New circle is going to pop, and it's going to go pretty center, leaving a massive chunk of this still being Los Leones. So teams now have to make the choice. Do we fight for the hillsides, try to find some type of building on the outside of Los Leones, or do we just send it inside and pray that the circle shifts back over towards the east?
What is going on outside the southwest side of the circle? You can see here we're jumping on board. Hardshift's making it into the compound ahead of Illusion, but have they got the information for this? Because obviously Hardshift is just wrapped in here. Illusion were already set up in this area, as we saw before, with Ranger pulling up, and there you go. Maluk immediately spotting out the nearest threat, and they should be able to cut off this rotation.
Where's the Bolt, man? You were doing so much work with the Bolt the other day, and now moving back over, running the DMR. Oh, so sad. Hate to see it. But yeah, we do have Illusion on the outside of this. Don't forget that T8 is also pretty close to this location as well. So Illusion's going to have to figure out how they're wanting to handle it. Also, we can see a lot of small skirmishes that are happening along the edges of the circle. Radiance right now still on the outside of it, trying to figure out how they're going to path their way back into it. They have ATC 303 and Wildcard that are kind of holding them out, and they don't seem to have a clear path or really any easy approach into this. Is almost every single building. There's a couple of dips to work with, but not a lot. So they're going to have to be very, very careful as they make this approach.
Yeah, I think Loss is going to opt to wrap edge here with Waldo on the bike. Maybe they're just going to look for a path into north side of Los Leones. They're going to try and out-rotate ATC up on the hillside here. 303 is next to them, so got to be careful here. They might actually be pulling up to try and get some of these kill points. Maybe they're just looking to brute force this compound here. They do spot out Landoon.
I feel like they're after 303. They've been looking towards Landoon for quite a while. Almost this chase back over here was just a follow back behind it. Is he being very patient with this? Los deciding the fact that he's going to wait and see if maybe anything else is going on, seeing maybe he can spot out anybody. But the moment Landoon stops moving for just a half second will be his death, and he's not going to give it to him. So keep in mind, that's great. If you guys are watching this right now and you're ever going to try to snipe from a non-covered position, never sit still. That is instantly how you can die. Always assume somebody is looking back your direction, as Aguila now looks back over at Honey Badger, and they got to keep those happy feet moving.
Yeah, and actually Loss is going to pull up onto the side of the hill here. I guess Landoon moved out of that spot that he was playing, but ATC have got the information on this. You can see now Loss going to try and look for a peek over to the east. He's going to spot out Honey Badger as well, but I'm pretty sure the push from ATC is going to come out. Waldo is actually going to shut that down. And now you see Loss open up onto Honey Badger. Does land some good tags, but now they need to swing around and deal with ATC. Like I said, they had the information of where Radiance were going to pull up.
Radiance has now put themselves into a pincered position. I don't know what 303 did to Radiance before this game, but it looked like they were very beaten in on trying to take them on. Any trolls in chat is trying to come up back behind it, but you can see don't have clear sight lines to work with at the time. This is right on the edge of the circle, 4 seconds before the new circle pops. That means that very quickly these teams need to figure out if they're going to need to disengage from this. Luckily, the new circle does shift just slightly to the south, so whoever wins this might be able to carve out some type of path. But Shoot to Kill has firing angles back that direction, and there's not a lot of cover to work with. These teams now have to figure out, do we go for the play onto this, or do we disengage? And it looks like ATC is saying this might be too much and trying to step away from the fight.
Yeah, and this really should become a pivotal position come next circle, or when this circle closes, I should say, because obviously they have the information to play the dip. Whoever gets wiped up on the north side here will have an opportunity to play down the low ground. Maybe just survive another circle, but I doubt anyone's really going to be able to, find good pathing into a central pop if we see it next time around. Jump back on with Tactical 8, making moves in on the south side. They spot out Exodus over in the next hangar. Steezy just feeling things out with the Mini 14. Microfire going to take himself a little tag, but this is just, again, we were talking about this earlier. The sight lines from Los Leones, the high ground. This is such a difficult push to go from south to north at these warehouses, just because of the way these warehouses sit, the open side being on the north side. Ooh. It's really, really difficult, Matt.
Well, Oath just cut straight through the middle of Los Leones, lands right over here next to Zenith, also kind of close to Shoot to Kill. Looks like ATC off in the distance. It's decided, okay, we've got this field next to us. Let's see if maybe we can stretch out, get a little bit more information to work with. Keep in mind, Radiance is back behind him. 303 is going to have sightline. Shoot to Kill is going to have sightline. They're just got to run through it. Aguila's taken a ton of damage. It is just hail and bullets coming from every single angle. They're trying to run to this dip, and I think they might be able to make it. Oh no! Not like this!
Dude,
after all that work.
I was about to say the worst thing that can happen now if one of them get knocked, because Radiants are going to have the information. ATC were in the compound. They've now pulled down into the dip in front of them. So they should be, I mean, a great risk here from not just SDK, but Radiants as well. They've only got smoke cover here. SDK are getting third party, but it doesn't look like Radiants are all that bothered about it right now. You see on the minimap, Waldo trying to find a way in. He's going to pull up right up to Zenith or underneath Zenith's compound.
So ATC has managed to get a little bit of safety for now, and no matter how much we joke about shoot to kill, loving their throwables, they just can't quite get the range onto it. Fabled now, scoping off the directions. They've got Exodus back behind them, closer towards the center of the circle, but really they're off playing the edge right now. Most of our teams are somehow managing to get right up on top of each other in these very awkward situations to still leave 15 teams alive at this point. Fable's still just trying to find some type of path, but it's going to be the fight off to the side of this, where we have Illusion and Hardships that have been slowly making their way up to the north, trying to get inside the safe zone. Top Dog, the last guy up for his team, slow crawling forward, does manage to take down Lobes, get the flush onto him as well. Hardships have to be very cautious as Sonic's back behind this, could draw a little bit of attention as grenades now landing pretty close to Top Dog. Two members looking back over towards the last surviving person that is up and active for Illusion. Hardships have to be very careful as every time they take a little bit of a peek up, there's going to be people taking shots back behind them. But look on that mini-map, it's going to be Sonics moving forward. They have a sense that maybe they might be able to pick something out of this. Mime has the high ground, takes a couple shots inside of it, but no, he goes down. Good shots coming up from J-Sank, so Profi comes up, trying to take a couple of shots, get some damage thrown back his way as well. This is starting to turn very problematic for Sonics. They have to be very careful, but now coming along on the outside of this is going to be Top Dog, getting in more damage. Now it is just J-Sank throwing down a couple of smokes, trying to stay alive in this, and somehow Top Dog is managing to live through everything that's going on.
And Circle actually shifting all the way back over to this side, so this fight absolutely huge in terms of the game, and actually Top Dog's going to find J-Sank. That'll be Hardships going out in 15th place. Top Dog surviving long enough to cause problems for both teams, and I think Sonics might actually be able to reset and get the res. Profi did end up flushing himself out to his own nade, so Sonics will be losing one. But they are in a good position. Like I said, that circle shifting back. They have great sight lines out of that dip if they can deal with Top Dog, Matt.
Well, Sonics, we're talking about Sonics a lot. Comets are about to find themselves in a little bit of a precarious situation as Sonic's still looking back over, thinking about taking down Top Dog right now. They just want to get control over this area. But back over towards the northeast where Comets are at, we have a ton of teams that are about to have to make a push into the circle, trying to leave Los Leones. You can see it's going to be T8, 303, Oath, Zenith, Radiance, Shoot to Kill, ATC, all trying to approach in a very similar fashion on this. Back down towards the southeast of this, you can see it's going to be T8 taking a couple of shots back over towards Fabled, as everybody is just trying to find some type of path in. Good throw comes out, going to take one of them down. Weemu's going to get a couple of smokes thrown back his direction. Grizzly takes a lot of damage. Steezy as well. Fabled's doing a good job on just trying to survive this one through. Stepping forward, trying to get the last little bit of spray onto this, maybe trying to take them out. But T8 is just bouncing from cover piece to cover piece. Neither team has managed to make it inside the safe zone yet, and it is just a fight for supremacy off to the side of it. T8 trying to go down off of this, has to move away from the vehicle as it explodes, but it is just Supernova and Tanaka finding themselves in a very dangerous position.
I mean, all the meanwhile, I'm not sure if you just caught that, but Lost HD just 1v4'd Zenith at the compound we saw them pull up to, and now Lost has swung around. He's trying to deal with Oath, but back on with Tactical 8 here. You can see now Beam's desperately trying to get some damage inside there. Tanaka still hiding inside. Here we go. We can see the absolute destruction that's gone on here. Oath did eventually shut down Radiance, but now you can see on the minimap how much fire they're taking. Snakers will go down to Kurt. Reload just trying to send it into Bronco now.
Ooh, does manage to make it over there, just narrowly into the safe zone. But you can see it's a mess. We did see Tanaka go down. Supernova, the last member, up for Fabled right now, trying to get a couple of shots back over towards him. They've got a ton of people running his direction. He's going to go down. That's going to give T8 control over this sector of the circle. But back over towards the northeast, it is still super messy as Shoot to Kill, ATC, Liberate, Comets, Exodus, and Oath are all scrapping very close, right on top of each other. Reload goes down. Exodus on the move, still trying to take a path, get control over this high ground. Shoot to Kill had to run in right over here next to them, getting into a little bit of a skirmish off to the side of it, but Comets still trying to defend their point as they have so many teams trying to encroach onto them. New circle pops, and it's going to be Comets, Shoot to Kill, and a touch of Liberate that are inside this new safe zone. Based off of the positioning on this, you can see Exodus trying to figure out what they can do with the information. They have the high ground advantage to work with at the time. So looking around, trying to get a little bit more vision on what's happening. Exodus did have one of their members go down, trying to get the res back over towards it. Shoot to Kill's playing on the outside of this hill, trying to figure out how they can make an approach onto it. Several members are inside. It's just Civ trying to find some type of path back behind it. Comets do have a little bit of a dip that they can play, but they know a lot of people can be approaching from a lot of different angles right now, so they have to figure out how they're wanting to defend this, as they have a ton of teams surrounding them, and they just can't really peek up to get a lot of information at this point. Where they're at, they have Exodus off to 1 point, and Shoot to Kill could pop over at any given moment to take the high ground. But Exodus taking the shots back over towards Shoot to Kill is going to stall them out. These teams are kind of mutually defending each other, as none of them can really go for a move. It's going to be Yaxley trying to step up, go for some type of play, but can't connect with the shots. Has to retreat away from it. Meanwhile, while all of this is going on, Exodus is just trying to carve some type of path. They need to take Comet's location, or at least opt into playing a little bit further towards the south. The wall, this fence that's right up in front of them, is in the safe zone. So if they can manage to make it over towards it, they might be able to find somewhere that they can try to work with. Comets has said, no, let's try to go for the high ground, but still more shots coming up from Shoot to Kill are going to force them away. Slowly, steadily, Exodus is creeping up to that front wall, moving right over here next to Comets. Pat Cap's leading the way, looking back off to the side, gets a little bit of damage, but not enough. They're at least in throwable range, trying to get something out of it. Pat's on no life. Drassel's taking a ton of damage. Microfry is trying to get his life back up as grenades and throwables are just flying over Exodus's head. They're trying to creep forward into this, but they cannot find an easy approach angle. They're just going to have to fight their way into this one, and Drassel looks like he's going to be the point man up on top. Pat goes down and a quick peek off of it. Microfry as well. Drassel has the high ground, but it's not going to work out in the end. A ton of damage goes back over to Comets, but it's not going to be enough to keep Exodus alive. Shoot to Kill now starts making an approach on the other side of it. Looking back over, they heard the firefight. They know that they can mop up a couple of these kills. No big rush over into it. Victor, the last person up for his team. So many teams have been just trying to take him down. Doesn't have a lot of armor. Helmet's also damaged as well, so has to play this very, very carefully. But the whole time this is going on, T8, remember, they got control back over to the southeast, have decided that they want to join in on the party as well, as there are a ton of crates off to the side of it. Victor decides to go alive off this one, take a couple of shots, takes down Grizzly, the last member of Comet, still trying to defend the territory that his team claimed. But there are so many people that are coming after him right now. Alo's starting to get a vibe on what's going on. The grenade's got to bounce right up and over his head. Victor's trying to get away from it and narrowly does. Takes a ton of damage though. Victor does go down, and shots coming out from T8. So here we go, doing a little bit of a look down off to the side of it. Shoot to Kill only up on 4 kills. They've got Liberate off to the side. The new circle has popped. It's back down towards the south. That is going to favor Sonics. I know that Hypox's going to be so super happy about that one. Should be noted as well, we still have one of the members of Wildcard still up and alive.
Keenan just desperately clinging on to life outside the circle to the northwest. He's got 3 members of Liberate still to worry about, but they need to find a way in. Shoot to Kill. This fight with Tactical Weight dragging out for a long time here. Beams and Grizzly trying to get an angle on the rock, but now they're going to prioritize circle and push away from them now, leaving SDK in a position where they could potentially backstab here. You can see some damage going initially. The barrel ringing off in the background. Alo going to chuck out a molly. Try and get some damage onto this. That is a fantastic molly there. Going to set Beams up there. Oh, the second one as well.
Give it to me! I love to see Molotov knocks off of this. They're going to try to capitalize off of it, running up and forward into it. A couple of shots coming out from Alo is going to tap down Weem as well. Grizzly's last member up. You can see a couple of throwables now coming out. Shoot to Kill not wanting to run into this one blind. With the smokes up, Alo's moving into it. Doesn't have the best angle to work with. Looks back up, takes one of them down. Quick flush out of this one. Weem still just trying to crawl up and forward. You can see that only one member of T8 is still alive. Smoke dissipates. He gets a little bit of vengeance back for his teammate. Beams steps up in a big way. Takes down 2 of the members. Shoots Kill. On fire. Looks back over towards Luke, and Luke finally finishes him out. 7 kills for Shoot to Kill, but a lot of damage done by T8.
Beams had absolutely no business taking down 2 of SDK there. Luke will survive out of that, but by God, does it cost them. Down to 1 member down, Wildcard 1 member. Sonic still 3 strong with the circle advantage. Liberate managed to get 2 members in, as you can see here. Lush and Adit using the vehicles to get in, but now they've come in front of Keenan. Keenan could be the upset factor inside this circle, Matt.
He's got a good position back behind Liberate. Luke's going to have to be a little bit cautious.
There you go.
Keenan deciding to come alive. Does get one of them down. Goes for the throwable as well. Trying to chunk out the Molotovs. Going for the flashbangs now as well. Trying to use the little bit of grass as he crawls forward to see if maybe he can find an angle back over towards Adit. Adit's taking some shots at him as he has now figured out his position, but can't quite connect. Do that little bit
Sonic's
of a rise in the hill. Sonic's now stepping up, taking a couple of throws into this. Everything's just going down. So many Molotov kills in this last day. I love it, Ibach.
And here you go, Keenan now going to look for a peek off the Shrimsy. He's only got a hay bale to play behind, but Luke is just going to ride this one out to a second place. I'm pretty sure Sonics have all the information on where Keenan is stuck. They're going to pull back. 9 kills on the board so far. Fantastic first game for Sonics. But Keenan could still cause an upset. I mean, Luke and Keenan could potentially both cause upsets here if Sonics aren't careful about it. You can see the circle position. It's favoring Sonics heavily, and they do still have a couple of vehicles down here if they do want to make a play for a ridge. Keenan opting to reposition towards the edge, but Luke might actually get an angle down to Keenan if he decides to pick the top of that ridge. It's looking like Luke's just going to opt to survive. Again, that extra placement point here, probably the safer bet than looking for a kill.
I know a lot of people are looking at that crate back towards the center. It is not safe in any form and factor, and Luke knows
not
this.
Safe.
Sure, it could provide cover, but the run to it is going to be instant death. Luke has been known to take out tons of people in these late games. His helmet is pretty damaged at this point, looking back over towards Sonic. He doesn't have a clear path really to work with, but he is inside the safe zone. All pressure on Keenan as everybody else is pretty comfortable inside the safe zone for now. But the problem comes into play once you have to move. There's no cover to work with, and Sonics have the numbers. They're sitting at 9 kills right now. They have the tools. They have the scopes. It's just a matter of if these solos can somehow work together to slowly inflict more wounds back over towards Sonics whenever Sonics go for a play. Keenan gets spotted out trying to go for a little bit of a peek. Takes more damage off of it. Somehow stays alive right now. I love H-Win just beat it in. He knows where Luke is at, trying to make sure he can feed that information over. It's just Keenan looking back off to the side. Not a lot of options for him to work with right now. Can Luke draw enough of Sonic's attention to give Keenan something to work with?
I think right now Luke's probably read this situation as well, that they're trying to pressure the other solo that's up, and Luke might actually come over here and look for the kill. That crate looking a little bit safer now with the smoke cover, and you can see Luke's actually looking at the hay bale. He's going to spot him, and he's actually going to go for it. He just gets one tag, and there you go. He's going to pick down Keenan. Luke earns himself the second place here. Now going to swing back around, probably just deny to Blue. Would be the wise decision, but that's not the Luke 12 we know. I think he's going to still try and look for something here.
Yes!
He's going to come up. Luke's going to find it with the barrel.
Big shot coming out from him, buying a little bit more space. Mine was running up to try to get control of the center of this circle. Luke's got the meds to work with. Now turning this instead of a 1v3 down into a 1v2. Chunking out the Molotovs. Probably going to land right on top of mine. Give me the Viking funeral. Yes, please. Luke using the high ground to his advantage as much as he possibly can. Just raining down literal hellfire right on top of everything that he can. The smokes are not safe, Sonics. You cannot step forward into them. But every single time Luke goes for a peek, he takes more damage. He's stalling out Sonics.
This is good, though. Sonics have put down the utility so early that Luke might have an opportunity to get a second peek here. Ace, when playing anchor with the Orm, could give Shrimsy an opportunity to push up here. Going to throw up a pop flash. That's going to land perfectly on Luke there. You can see that's strung him. Now he's going to go for the overpick onto Shrimsy, but there you go. Shrimsy's actually going to get on top of that 1v1, close it out. Sonics, game 1, first place, 10 kills.
Big performance coming out of Sonics. I know that brings a smile to your face. You've been waiting to see some Sonics play coming through there. Mime with 3 kills, Proffy with 3, Shrimsy with 2, H-Win with 2. Big game coming out from them. But shoot to kill, there was a lot of question marks coming in. Can they manage to hold on to their lead? Well, coming in second place, Luke 12, 4 kills, Purdy, 2 kills, Alo, 2 kills, and Civ with 1 kill as well. But the problem has always been the wild card that's chasing them coming in today. They get third, but no kills to speak of.
I mean, that's really good, considering looking at, obviously, SDK and Sonics' performances on Miramar. That's a fantastic game 1 on a Miramar heavy day. Obviously, Sonics kind of running away with things in the group stage in terms of Miramar, but we've seen them underperform heavily on Miramar throughout the grand finals. So really, really good start for both of them. I mean, it's iconic that we see Shoot to Kill come out the gate swinging in game 1. I'm hoping they can keep this momentum up because, again, that's just a huge step change from what we saw yesterday from them. They looked much cleaner in the team fights, other than Tactical 8.
That's the one I wanted to point
out.
out.
That was
Tactical
difficult.
8.
That was difficult to watch.
8.
They had
Tactical
no business losing 2 people in that team fight. And I'm not sure if it was just a miscomm there, but there was no trade. And actually, I mean, no trade again on the 2 downs as well. Both flushes came out.
You say that. I'm going to say that Beams has started to get really impressive for me. We can see that whenever he gets into a clutch situation, he can step up. He got himself 6 kills inside that last game. Steezy for T8 got 4. Grizzly got 2. And William got 1. So they even walk away with the 5th place position.
Yeah.
Sure, it's a little bit late for T8. We saw where they were in the leaderboard, and they did manage to step up a couple of spots. But, I mean, It's good to see T8 stepping up in this late game, starting to show the fact that
Absolutely.
they have some capabilities to work with. So I know we've been talking about kills, we've been talking about different factors, but we had a very interesting set of circles, and I know that everybody on the analyst desk wants to take a quick talk about that, so you guys take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. Great job. What an interesting game to start. I am going to say we'll start out Tactical 8. They got a lot of kills. In honor of that game, I'm actually retweeting a little Europoutine video right now because I think Beams deserves the shout out. But Sonics comes out blazing, full speed. They come out big, and then STK A-OK with that performance. That's how you start, right, Clover?
Yeah, I mean, all right, they didn't get the chicken, but they really held their own. I think we were kind of talking about this as we were watching. Luke wins this, and all right, a 3v1, a bit difficult, but Luke was still able to put some points down with that. And I mean, SDK 9 kills to Sonics' 10, so really a big victory for both of these teams that really needed it today.
It's always fun, Godspeed, to see these two teams have kind of developed a bit of a rivalry, and to see them going 1-2 at the start of the last day, to me, that's exciting. And do you think that helps get the blood pumping for them as well?
I mean, I think it's always good to have a rival or someone that pushes you to kind of be better. You know what I mean? And I think that's good that Sonics definitely could be that team for them. I think it is that team. I'm agreeing with you. I also have to agree with Hypoc. I really think that was actually kind of STK's game to potentially lose, only because, you know, they really should not have lost 2 members pushing up on Beams and T8. That was kind of a blunder for them. I hope that doesn't cost them too much going into the end of the day. But overall, they still racked up a good amount of points. I think total was like 11 points, which was more than half, or 12 points, more than half of what they had yesterday. So it's definitely a good start for them. Sonics has some work to do, so
okay.
Well,
we're gonna take a look. We're gonna take a look at the highlights right now. But as we do, let's keep talking. And I want to ask you this: it's about that push. I'll be honest. I ran to the restroom and missed it. Did it feel like a disrespect push? Either of you, when you look at it, did that seem like a oh look, it's T8, let's go?
It didn't look like a disrespectful push at all. I mean, to be honest, it was a good push. They were going in. I believe it was Alo, and I didn't see who else it was. Luke was kind of in the back, but they were moving up for trades. Okay. The issue is there just wasn't a trade to be had. I mean, Alo with a really great opening knock, and it was Unciv actually that was with him, and unfortunately, they just both got absolutely shredded, and because of that, you know, there was no trade. And then on top of that, they both got flushed. You know, which is kind of the issue. I don't think Luke was in a position to really help them out. So I also don't think Luke was expecting both of them to go down as fast as they did. So I'm not really putting that on Luke either. It was just unfortunate because I do feel like they should not have lost 2 there. In fact, I don't really even think they should have lost 1. But I mean, it is what it is. Even still, I think SDK did a phenomenal job of putting points on the board. Starting out, you know, first game coming out hot. And then Sonics, you can't take away the fact that they also played very well. They got a lot of kills, and they needed this because they were a little further down on the leaderboard.
Who else stood out to you in that game? I know we're going to get the leaderboard from the matchup here in a second, Clover, but like just as you watched it, what caught your eye?
You know, I mean, wild card with 0 kills. They really were in a great place. You know, Keenan did a couple knocks, but they were stolen by Sonics there in the end. So just their kind of inability to really do as much as we would have liked for them to this game. And this was a kind of another team that we also said could be the wild card. They had an amazing day yesterday. We've seen them really pop off last weekend as well. And I think there was an opportunity that they could come and upset this, but they're only going to walk away with placement points from this match. And that's a little bit disappointing given really the opportunities that they had this game.
I will say this. Yesterday, they started really bad with 13-0. Then they went 2-0. And then that started this trajectory of first place with 14, first place 9, 8 kills. So maybe they're just jumping to that moment sooner. And they're saying, okay, we'll start with 3rd and 0, and then we'll make that upward tack. Match leaderboard, Godspeed, it's up in front of you. 20 points for Sonics. Tactical 8. Yeah. Where have these guys been?
They absolutely fragged their little minds out. And, I mean, Beams, I think, had 6 kills that game, which is ridiculous. And then we also see, you know, Liberate coming up with a little bit of points. Radiance also had 5 kills. I'm pretty sure Oath and Radiance actually got into a little bit of a scuffle, and Oath came out on top. But overall, I mean, Tactical 8, I mean, we've seen them really perform well, but I just feel like it's too far between their normal performance and their really good and their their poor performance, which kind of has been the norm for them, even though I feel like that team has the roster in order to, have really solid games, or consistent games, rather.
Worth noting, Wildcard got 5 placement points on that match, but still ended up on the right side of that leaderboard, or the wrong side, if you will, because of how valuable kills are right now. As we look at the top 5, tell me, we've seen an evolution, it feels like, Clover. How big a deal are kills at this point in the current PUBG pro scene?
I mean, we're always, every series, we can say it's come down to a handful of kills, whether kills for placing, kills for getting, in a position. And this is every really place that you're going to get from here on out. I mean, you want to get as highly placed as you can, even if you can't take that chicken dinner, because that's going to be the difference here in prize payout as well. So, I mean, Beams and Steezy really popping off at 6 and 4 here is great, but, we kind of go back to the overall damage now, and you can really see the story of Shoot to Kill and Sonics, who were the last 2 teams in this, and it shows here. I mean, Shrimsy and H1 were in a really great position. They did a lot of damage to a lot of teams and had really good control of the South for here, and Radiance as well. We've seen them have these nice moments on Miramar, but they just need to wrap it up a bit together.
I can see that. Yeah, and I think I know that you spoke to them earlier today, Godspeed. Radiance, what happened? I mean, we saw that push, and they just got dismantled. I think it was Oath that just took them to task.
Yeah, they were in one of the concretes, and I'm pretty sure Oath just held them out on the bottom floor, and I think Radiance, the last 2 members, were up in the second story, and it can be kind of pain to get out. The biggest issue was that they were there for so long that the blue was actually coming in, which pressured them to make a move, and unfortunately the move was not in their favor. But, I mean, looking at the leaderboards here, Toffees, I mean, Shoot to Kill is still in first, and they have a nice little 15-point cushion. It's not a lot, but it could grow, especially if they are able to, find points every single game rather than, kind of have the day that they had yesterday. It doesn't look like they're going to have the day they had yesterday at all so far.
I'll take 15 over 5, Clover.
Yeah, look, there's a little bit of a shuffling here, as we kind of see as well. Zenith and Sonics both tied at 116, but Wildcard's really letting Shoot to Kill run for it. I really want to see. I want to see Shoot to Kill take it. I mean, it's going to be my story for all the day. I think this is finally the time that they're going to do it, and it's just going to be their ability to hold off the pressure from some of these other teams that are climbing right now.
And I do think you have to worry about that. We'll look at the overall top kills, etc. as we run through this. But I think, to me, the biggest threat's going to be Sonics. They have nothing to lose mentality and the trigger discipline and skill to chase down some of these defensive teams, Godspeed, because it does seem like some of these top teams might consider being a little more turtley as we get into the back half of this series.
I mean, I really hope not. Again, I feel like when you're in the lead and you've been in the lead, I think changing your playstyle can be detrimental, or it could also cause to choking. I mean, sadly I've been there. So yeah. You want to stay consistent and play in the style that's help you get to that point, and I just don't really think that playing turtley is going to help a lot of those teams. In fact, I think it might hurt them.
If you're in the front of the race, give your horse its head, right? You don't have to. You're not going to win the Triple Crown by reining in your progress, and we're going to see if teams stick to that or not. Overall top damage, STK, you got Luke 12 and Purdy Curdy both showing up on this chart. STK is by and far, Clover, just proving that they have the North American pedigree, that they are going to go forward, I feel like, and represent NA in future events as an international superstar.
And it's about time. These guys, they have the experience, they have the tenure. They're no, stranger to this level of play, and I think that they have finally figured out what it is that they needed to do together to make them work as a full squad. And it's still, I mean, I really truly believe that this is going to be a new era for NA, and I would love to see them win it today.
If they can start closing, right, Godspeed?
If they can start closing. I mean, to be fair, there's not like a power struggle or anything within that team either. They're very fluent and they play so well together. I think it's time. I'd like to see it. I just don't know if it's going to happen. I'm not rooting against them. I'll tell you that right now.
That's the thing is I don't think none of us ever have. It's just one of those situations where, like, you get so frustrated with seeing the wheels come off. Eventually you start to want to buy a new car, right? And I want desperately to see them sort of rise up and stop being the bridesmaids and start being, the big winner here. So hopefully it happens. That said, it was a great match. What were your guys' sort of favorite moments? Let's talk about that. What was your favorite sort of thing to see in that last one, Clover?
I mean, all right, throwables. You can hear Matrim's excitement when it happens. Those Molotovs were insane as well. I mean, Luke securing that final kill on the Sonics, making sure at least got one more point out in their favor. Molotov landed absolutely dead on, and that, for me, especially, I think, just as a caster, I want to see that happen every time, and regardless of which team is throwing them.
Godspeed?
I just want to... someone made a point when we were watching. I'm not sure if it was Poor or you or Clever, but someone said, like, do they actually do throwable drills? And I think maybe, because like that molly to finish off the down that Luke had got in that 1v3 was just like, it was ridiculous. Both of them landed like right on top of him. I mean, that's insane accuracy without even being able to see your target. So yeah, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what Owen is having them do, but their throwable game is ridiculous.
But it says something to me, Clover, that this is, if I listed every team in North America, the only team that I would feasibly think, oh, they must have throwable practice. Where they go into the training area with their coach and practice throwing. That says a lot about them.
I mean, it really does. It's a meme in and of itself, but a well-deserved one, because, I mean, they're rightfully so using them the way that they need to and keeping throwables meta and here in comp.
You got to respect it, and you got to respect the voices that we bring into the action in the second game of the day. Back to Miramar with Hypoc and Matrim.
Poor Shoot to Kill in first place, and still everybody's curious on whether or not they practice throwing. Poor guys.
I mean, they have a lot of throwing. No, I can't say that.
I know. I'm glad you get what I'm putting down there. All right, so we're moving into our second Miramar of the game of the day. Second Miramar game of the day. I know, words are hard. This is the thing that happens sometimes, guys.
Well, it's the last time we've got to use words like this. We can put our feet up for the last two games. So
that's right, because we're going to be switching out all of our casters through North America. Are going to be on the mic at some point, except for Toffees. He's going to be holding down the desk the whole time. We do have the plane that is up and in the air, so we're going to try to get into game in just a couple of seconds. So, Hypoc, what are you looking for inside this round?
I mean, I want to see both teams coming out in first and second place, and obviously as well, Wildcard coming out in third place, arguably a bit of a poor, point pickup for Wildcard in game one. But those are the three teams my eyes are on, especially for the rest of Miramar. Again, if we could just have that iconic finish of the teams in kind of contest for the top spots, making it to end game. That's what I want to see for the rest of these games, Matt.
Well, I just love to see sure, they didn't get a lot of kills, but again, in late game, still just trying to fight it out, trying to at least make Shoot to Kill work for what's going on right now. And let's be real, we have seen these teams pick up a lot of points in like one or two games. So really, if you're in towards the top of this, there still is opportunity for you. Zenith Esports, Sonics, there is the potential with 4 games remaining throughout the day. Sonics dropping back over next to Picado. Who would have thought? No surprise over here, as they're just going to be able to loot up pretty comfortably. And this time, all of them are all in Picado, so Radiance, while they are kind of close to their location, not going to have to worry about losing anybody early.
Yes. And McCoy, you can see now, has cowered back to the other compound, doesn't want to mess with the west side of Picado. And Loss and Baddie just down to the southeast of that. And obviously hardships as expected. But again, very open in the southwest side of the circle, just due to the nature of the first circle pop and the plane path. So we're going to have a fairly similar setup, other than the circle being a bit further over to the west. Potentially La Drillera ending. I know it's hated amongst the players right now, how many Monte Nuevo and La Drillera circles we get. But
True.
It definitely is on the table for this game. Roth finding a couple of boxes in the bus. And Zenith one for me that, I mean, they can definitely still make a push for it. Again, Sonic's now tying things up in terms of points, passing hardships, and obviously Oath one behind that. But again, for me, top 6 is, well, I mean, Radiance and Fable are only 1 point behind them. I've only just noticed that as well. So top 8 really here. And again, it's gonna all depend on SDK's performance, because when you're chasing points, you can't just match point for point on a game basis with a team that's out by 15 points. But I'll be honest, top 8 is so close still.
Yeah, and that's what you want to see moving into the last day. That's why I love PUBG Esports. There's always the comeback potential, and it should be noted right now, one of the few teams that is not inside the safe zone is going to be Shoot to Kill. They're hanging out on the outsides. They always drop closer to Hacienda, but with the circle setup being so far back down towards the south, that's not going to be in position. Wildcard's still pretty far toward the northern part of the circle as well, so they always drop around power grid, no surprise there, and they like to leave this position. That's no surprise, as it's not going to net them a lot of kills, and Wildcard, while they didn't get a lot of kills in the last game, that tends to be kind of their, I guess, modus operandi as they move through. Hardship's got a couple of bullets coming their way, but pretty long range, so should be pretty okay. Nothing too much to worry about, as Maluk's still going to continue to look around, get a little bit of control over the area.
Yeah, and actually Wildcard, one of the teams we've seen do consistently well in the North Monte circles. We know they like to crash those red bricks early because the circle is destined to finish there or thereabouts. And SDK have they've been shaky on the Monte circles. We've seen them a couple of times. I mean, actually, funnily enough, last week we obviously saw them taking down Wildcard from the red brick in a little PGC dip just off to the right-hand side of your screen here, where we see Guabi of Liberate rotating. It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, SDK don't have an easy path into this circle. They're not going to have, first dibs on a compound. It's going to rely heavily on Circle 2 posting and how that sits for them. But going to expect them to do kind of a slow scouting move coming into this. You can see Liberate actually scouting out 303's compound. Looks like they're actually going to send it here on the 2-series. Maybe they didn't spot anything out. Going straight towards the compound here, 3 up. And actually, that dude's going to land on this try. He spun out. What? He spun out. Nobody's shooting at him.
No! And it does go down. Ice Tech is in a position to potentially res, trying to provide a little bit of support.
No,
but a Honey Badger hits the shots. Now it's all on to Guabi as he's the last guy up on this position. Taking a lot of damage as well, trying to go for the res. You can see Adit's already super low on life. Lush has to provide some type of support, but doesn't have the angle. It's going to be another member going down, and Liberate. This is not good for you right now.
Landoon landing the shots, then following up with the nade to get the third knock. Lush now just going to tuck his tail and head south in the Morado. Landoon's just Landoon's look so good, and you know what? Every time
yes,
yes, Landoon. Yes.
All right, Landoon, I love you forever now because of that. Thank you so much.
That was poetic ending there to earn those kills, putting 3 on the board. But I was just saying, Landoon has come up looking so good in a number of situations. It's I mean, it's been an underwhelming performance from 303. We've had them down as the underdog a few times, Matt. They did, to be honest, they did really well throughout the group stages. I was impressed in terms of showing life, but again, they just scraped themselves in the group stages. But they definitely surprised me, and that was, I guess, down to the Charity Showdown performance.
Well, also, they were in a pretty decent spot moving into a couple of days ago. Supernova trying to get a couple of shots on rotations as they come through. Does hit the headshot, but I don't think it's enough to take him down. So going to continue along on path. And at this point, if you play in North America, you know how to play the southern part of Miramar because, by God, we see it all the time. So most of the teams know how to rotate through here. One thing to note is Fabled has a lot of control over territory back down towards the south. They're trying to go for these high ground positions, trying to get a lot of vision, specifically back over the hillsides near Chumacera. So that could provide them a lot of extra information to provide good rotations if they do need to move, and also pretty close to circle, so, all right, pretty close to center, so not going to have to worry about too much.
And actually, Aguila coming to rejoin his teammate over by the gas station here. They seemingly pinched a little bit. Wildcard were harassing them earlier on in their rotation. You can see now the third member of ATC. They did lose 1 to Wildcard earlier on in rotation, so obviously Wildcard have got a beat on where they were looking to move to, and they're still just hassling them. Zenith in the meanwhile, this is the worst part of Miramar for me, is when you opt not to take a dirt road or a main road, this little rotation. But they're going to make it up to the road, just come outside the Los Leones, maybe looking for a way in on the northeast side.
It should be noted, well, we often show like the third-party drive up these hills and stuff like that, and first person, it's treacherous terrain and enough to give you a touch of a headache if you're going fast enough. So that's why you see a lot of these guys kind of slowing it down, making sure that they're not going to hit any like cactus that just pop out in front of them.
There is nothing more tilting than rotating in a Bronco or Morado on Miramar when you haven't got a dirt road to use. Do you remember it pre-patch, before they added all the dirt roads? To say that now, we have a Bronco rotating in open terrain now. Wildcard still has this. Melon actually going to find a knock onto Keenan from the compound. Jazz are going to put a smoke down. That was the old bait and switch there. The Bronco riding. ATC picking up a knock for it, but don't think they're going to be able to convert it. That is a long attempted nade out of the compound there. Yeah, maybe you think he's got an STK arm. He hasn't.
Well, back behind this, it's going to be two members of Wildcard that were running the other side of their 2-2 split, taking a couple of shots at range as well. You can see harassment coming back over towards them. Wildcard can provide a little bit of support. Meanwhile, Oath still on the hunt for somewhere that they want to call home right now. This isn't going to be the best spot, so that's why I'm glad they decided not to stop at that dip. They do have Zenith pretty close to them that can take a couple of shots their direction, but if you go too much further into circle right now, I mean, oh my God, Snakers, it's okay. It's okay. That fence deserves it. Those things always get my way as well, but Oath deciding the fact that, okay, this is about as far in as we can safely go, because by God, in front of them, there are 2-2 splits galore, and 6 seconds before the circle pops, you don't want to make a commitment into a very dangerous, wide open path.
No. And taking this spot outside Picardo, I like it for the information. Again, lots of traffic coming past here. They know that Sonics would have moved out early, and the North Monty finish still on the cards. It's going to rely on a couple of hard shifts, but at least we're not going west, Matt.
Well, there's a lot of 2-2
Wildcard are going to love
too.
this. Yeah, I was going to say, Wildcard are going to love this. They should look to regroup around here. Comet's going to crash the same compound Zenith have got their eyes on right now. Mystery and Kickstart pulling up to the backside. Actually, Victor going to try and get some damage onto the Bronco as it comes in here. Mystery's actually fully committing here. Victor is alone. He's got teammates across the street, but I'm not sure about the commitment here. Baddie with the third party going to get a tag in. Mystery's vehicle. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Limp away. Yeah, I was going to say, you can't do anything in that situation, so Mystery's now found himself in a no-man's land where there's a lot of people that can take some shots at him. Comets have now firmly regrouped, looking back down to see who is running right by their complex. They had to hear the vehicle stop. Way off in the distance, there's a little bit of support coming out, but this is a bad situation for Zenith to work around. They have to figure out, are they going to commit to support of their stranded member right now, or are they just going to leave him be? He's cowering down inside of the dip as Roth is going to hop in a vehicle, come over, try to provide a little bit of support. Layden's still up on that high ground spot. Kickstart's got his back, pretty close range as well, but Mystery isn't in a position to where he can easily move and get out of this spot. Comets keeps stepping away and hasn't gone directly into the complex yet, so he has an opportunity, but it is a very dangerous opportunity to try to take.
Yeah, and I guess, again, we're on the hard edge here, so it's obviously congested. Mystery just opting to lay low, like you said. Kickstart did pull up next to it, and I'm guessing he's lost the tires now. He does take a headshot. I'm guessing he's lost the tires on it. Yax is actually going to try and follow up with a nade. That nade looks good.
Ooh,
Matt, that could
land.
land
Pretty close.
Oh, just protected by the ridge.
Well, this lets you know that Comets does not know where Mystery is at right now, and they might think that Kickstart was the guy that stopped right next to him. And they could not be aware of how close there is a Zenith member to their complex right now. Yaxley is actually circling back around. Looks like he was thinking about going back over towards Kickstart's position, but if so, that would provide a perfect opportunity to spring a reverse trap based off of the positioning. But it looks like Comets are saying, this might be a little bit too hazardous. I'm surprised we're not seeing a lot more third party come into effect off of Zenith's position, but nobody really has good vision into the spot.
Well, Radiants were quiet throughout that as well. Baddie got a tag on Comets going into the building as they collapsed across the street, but I'm surprised Radiants haven't played a factor in that. I feel like they should have really good sight lines. Maybe the ridges just line up in such a way that they can't land any damage, but Exodus now. Is that 3 in the car? It is 3 in the car. The only 3 teammates left on Exodus, and they're going to be wrapping in the blue out on the south side. And hoping to find a home, I guess, coming in on the west, but we have to wait and see how that one pans out. Here's the other half of the Radiant split. Waldo and McCoy over just outside Chumacera. They've got Elusive to their south. I guess.
Well, one of the things to keep an eye on, I was going to say, with the 2-2 splits that we've got and how many teams have had to already go center, some of these 2-2 splits might have a little bit of trouble regrouping or bumping into other rotating 2-2 splits. A couple of these guys are kind of streaking out, trying to get a little bit more damage. Most notably right now, it's going to be T8, separating out just a little bit more. But with a couple of seconds before the circle pops, look at how close Beam is back over towards that duo coming up from Oath. Circle goes way up towards the north, back over towards Power Grid, and Wildcard has to be furious right now. That's their looting location, and they are way back away from this position right now. They do have that 2-2 split that they can work with, but Shoot to Kill knows there's nobody up towards the north and instantly go to retake that area.
Yeah, now you're going to get, actually, the second half of it come out. Beams will find Snakers here. Oath's Miramar woes continue. Hopefully we don't see him go out early again, but you can see how pinned against the edge of the new circle they are. And actually Grizzly going to find Relo as well. This is heartbreak on the final day. We're going to have 2 back-to-back poor performances again on Miramar.
I know a lot of our analysts were rooting for Oath, and this is looking a little bit bad. The only thing that is in their favor right now is the fact that T8 can't get a good position to really finish anything out. So Oath might be able to do a little bit of damage control based off of this if they choose to commit into what's going on. Keep in mind, T8 is a lot more active than we have seen them than any of the previous days. Sure, they're back down towards the bottom part of the leaderboard, but that last game sure did not feel like it. Oath's trying to fight their way out of it and finally says, okay, we've just got to go. Sorry, Snakers. Give us information. We'll try to send you a postcard from our new place that we decided to go to, but they're running out. You can see so many people have clear sight lines on what's going on because this is such a flat area of the map to try to rotate through. So anybody that is in position can take a ton of shots. Sonic's in a little bit of trouble right now. They have one of their members down, and Chuba does go down, giving them a little bit more space to work with now, so they should be able to get the res back over towards that. J-Sank can't quite make the push back over towards them, so that could be a little bit of damage control coming through. Mime gets a lot of damage out of J-Sank. 1 hit point onto him. Now what's he going to do? Instead, opts into going sneaky around. Oh, he's going to roll through and take him down. That is a 200 IQ throw.
Mime with the clutch pre-nade there inside the door. J-Sang just got held up a little bit too long trying to crouch jump in. And that's going to be 4 points going on the board for Sonics early on. Hardshift's going out in 15th place. And I'm not sure if you caught it there in the kill feed, but J-Sang did actually team nade Maluk, and I think that may have been a big factor in that team fight because they were trading evenly, I'm pretty sure, before that. Unfortunate to see Hardshifts go out here, but I can't lie, I'm happy to see Sonics put 4 early points on the board, Matt.
Also opens up the door for Radiance and Oath. Oath were having a little bit of trouble a second ago, but
Yeah,
Radiance has been a little bit more of a comfortable position. Elusive. You can see one of the members on foot just trying to feed information back over as they've now managed to make it inside the safe zone. Most of our teams up and alive have managed to find somewhere. Really, it's just kind of Zenith and Comets right now that have found themselves in a troubled spot. Because remember, we saw them kind of caught up in an awkward skirmish just a little while ago. They do manage to disengage on that and are both trying to figure out some type of approach to work with. Illusion, also playing back over towards the northeast, are kind of close next to Shoot to Kill's position. You can see I'm back over towards Purdy Curdy, but where is this next circle gonna take us? As it's kind of problematic. Oh my God, hard shift back over next to Monte Nuevo. That means that there's going to be a lot of no man's land inside this. This area right out in front of Wildcard is pretty flat. There's not a lot of good places to work with the amount of players we still have alive, Hypod.
No, and as I said, Wildcard are deadly in these types of circles. You see Illusion actually fill in the red brick we talked about earlier, and Wildcard just have the god spot in here. They do have SDK off to the north at the junkyard. Obviously, that's a big brain backfill from SDK. I guess reading Wildcard's rotation pretty well. They've gone down to the barn building, but it's going to be an interesting setup if this next one comes down to the southwest as we would expect it to. Meanwhile, we do see Sonics in the kill feed lighting up Tactical 8 now. And actually, Mime going to combine for another one as we have the last 2 members of Zenith trying to do their best mounting goat. I guess they're going to try and go up the side of the rocks here.
There's 2 places I really want to keep an eye on right now, and that's going to be Shoot to Kill's positioning and really the Sonics positioning, as a lot of these teams are going to be trying to crowd their way in right along the point where we see Zenith and Radiance trying to find some type of path.
Yeah.
They have so many teams in front of them at this point. You can see T8 is trying to make their way up this hillside as well. Comets looking like they're still caught up into a little bit of a skirmish with Elusive. We saw them trying to take a couple of defensive points, but Comets outside in the blue taking a lot of harassment right now, just having to burn a lot of meds just to stay alive.
Yeah, this is, again, ATC's position now. I guess the pinch position we were talking about earlier, not really a factor now because they have a really good opportunity to hold their edge. H1 going to find Sub-Zero at range, and actually, JLD not managing to get the steal, so that's another kill point going on the board for Sonics. Comets settling for this compound outside just to take a little stepping stone inside the circle, but I'm not sure where they go next, Matt. We've already seen Radiance off to the north and Zenith, and we know Sonics have control of the concrete just inside.
Yeah, it's all about the western or the eastern part of the circle right now. We have Shoot to Kill, Oath, Radiance, T8, Zenith, and Sonics all trying to skirmish around this specific point. Oath has managed to make it inside the safe zone, but they have a ton of teams back behind him. Look on that mini-map. There are so many teams waiting to approach based off of the vector that they're trying to go for. And Shoot to Kill is the team that's gatekeeping right now. The longer Shoot to Kill can hold out this team, and really not allow Oath to make too many movements is just going to allow them to move into a pincered position with multiple teams pushing back behind it. Good shots coming out from Balefrost, do a lot of work back over towards Civ, but they still have to keep an eye back behind them. Grenade's gonna land based off of that. Good throw coming out from Shoot to Kill. At this point, that should come as no surprise to anybody at all. Oath kind of playing back down along this hillside, still has to continue to be cautious. Zenith has opted to come up back behind this, and we have a lot of teams all about to be within touching distance of each other. Purdy's having to defend out. Radiant's off of one angle. Each one of the members of Shoot to Kill has some type of vision on multiple teams as they make this approach, and this is about to turn into a bloodbath in this little dip that Oath is trying to claim.
This is a fantastic spot for STK to hold and pick up some much-needed points on the final day. You can see Zenith now potentially getting the backstab onto Beams. Kickstart and later, actually now that's going to open Beams up for an opportunity, but Kickstart does trade it out. Later goes down. That's potentially another kill point for
the blue is
STK
here
to lose out on. Still 0 kills on the board for STK though. This is, they need to try and convert this because come the next circle, I don't think they're going to have an opportunity like this to put anything on the board.
Well, especially if they have a whole bunch of these stragglers stay alive and the circle, as in the circle shifts away from them, which it's going to do. So now Shoot to Kill has to finish this one up fast. All these teams know that this is a problem. They have to move. Wildcard, they are in a beautiful position as well as 303, but everybody else is in a little bit of trouble with the exception of maybe Fabled. So good pickup coming out off that. Luke 12 managing to get a pick off of that one, but you can see Oath looking back over towards Radiance right now. Shoot to Kill just cannot get the vision that they want based off of this little bit of a ridge that's being worked on. Oath do manage to pick up a lot of damage back over towards Radiance, take them out. So Oath clinging to life on the side of it. It's going to be Relo and Wolf that are still alive, contending with 3 members of Shoot to Kill. Looking back over towards it, Luke's trying to make use of this high ground, but everybody is so far down in that ravine right now.
This is crucial because obviously Wildcard being in such a strong position, what I mean when I say SDK need to convert here, I don't think they have great options coming into the next circle, Matt. So 3 points out of that dominant position might not be enough, but here we have Illusion and Exo looking like they're going to fight over this shack. Illusion kind of scattered outside here. Pat Cap's trying to move up to maybe get a nade down. That Molly is actually nearly right on top of Pat. Doesn't catch him, unfortunately. Free please now moving up to a tree, but both members of Illusion stuck inside this shack. Could be problematic for you. There you go. Alo finally going to close out the final fight here. You can see on the minimap, everybody else is dead. Luke 12 will fall to the blue. Kurt and Alo, the last survivors, and I think they're going to opt to go to the high ground. I like this. They can put down some damage at distance.
Exodus still trying to make their path up and forward right now. Not a lot of room to work with. Illusion's going to be able to hold them out, take down Exodus in 8th place. 4 kills right now for Illusion to work with, but they still need to make their way back over towards the safe zone. Back down towards the southeast, you can see a lot of shots coming through as teams are trying to figure out how they're going to navigate this wide open terrain. You're looking at the circle right now. There's near on nowhere to hide. Sonics is trying to maneuver their way through this one. Looks like they don't want to go for that little bit of a dip. Instead, they're going to go for a crash. They're running right back over next to 303. Shrimsy jumps directly out of the vehicle, and all 4 members of Sonics managed to make it over, not losing one in a single part of that rotation. I thought it was going to be bloody for them, but instead, they managed to make it in here, get a little bit of a foothold to work with, and now 303 running this split that they were running are going to see the ramifications for it. Honey Badger and Voxic have to figure out some way to defend this with just 2 members, and Sonics have been on fire today.
Yeah, this rotation is actually huge from Sonics because it puts them in a position where, obviously, 303 do only have 2 here. They are still in the 2-2 split. Sharpshot actually going to find a knock onto H-Swim with the bolt. That could open things up for 303 to mount a push onto this side. You can see them thinking about it on the front side.
It's taking too long.
Yeah,
it's taking too long.
Oh, here comes the crash out. And actually, Profi going to find D-Rich outside of the Murado.
Nice shots coming out from him. That's going to be the opening that they can work with. Sonics just holding down the blue building while 303 is trying to get some work out onto it, but they cannot find an angle of approach. Remember, Wildcard still has that high ground and a raining death and destruction off in the distance, so anybody that leaves this complex is going to find themselves in a little bit of trouble. So now Wildcard finally has to make a move of their own. One member of 303 is way off in the distance, about to have to contend with Illusion that might be coming up back behind him. Sonic still just trying to figure out, get a little bit more information as they make their way forward. Remember, they don't know that this isn't a full 4-man squad. They think that maybe it's just 3 because they got the kill onto 1, but they don't know where that last member is. They don't have a lot of information to work with at this point. Wildcard does manage to make their creep up and forward, but Sonics finally goes for the push up and forward. H1 instantly gets dropped. That's going to be Shrimsy as well. Beautiful defense coming up from 303 as they quickly flush that one out and turn this into a 2v2. Make that a 1v2. Mime's the last one up and alive, and he's trying to figure out what the hell just happened to his team. They're going to come forward, get a lot of kill points off of that one, but Now it's going to settle down for just a second as Mime is trying to get a new read on the situation. Profi crawling up and forward. Grenade's going to finish him out. Is that going to be enough information for Mime to make something happen?
I mean, that was a questionable push into the corridor there, but they needed to take control of the compound. They absolutely couldn't share this if they wanted to convert any more points off this. Honey Badger coming up huge there. I think there was a little bit of body blocking on the way in. That's the reason 2 of Sonics fell with ease. Now we see SDK stuck in the position up top. Should just deny here. Maybe get themselves a kill, actually, onto it. There you go. Alo and Kurt will fall.
Well, they got a kill, just not the one you were expecting.
Yeah.
Curdy kills himself.
But
I guess he jumped off a rock.
Jazza, actually, oh yeah, he's going to get a pick up here. There you go. So all of Wildcard will manage to make it into the next circle, and that is... I mean, that's great damage control from SDK there, because Wildcard now in a position where, I mean, they still have an 18-point deficit, but SDK survived long enough to pick up a couple of placement points on top of the few kills they had. I don't think Wildcard have too much of an opportunity to clean up the rest of this circle, given the position they've had to move to.
Well, you say that. It's Wildcard. We know the fact that they can play it a little bit wild when they want to. Actually, Sharpshot hopping into a motorcycle, running off in the distance, I think is aware of where Illusion might be at, or at least moving to a new cover point. Couple of shots might be going out back over towards Fabled as they're running a very wide split, a 2-1. Greg Shot looks like he was trying to get a little bit of control back over towards the circle, but he does get taken down and quickly flushed by 2 members of Wildcard. The other 2 kind of being held out right now, but really, you don't want to go into that complex, Fabled. I know you're looking at it and it's quiet right now, but there's a lot of loot in there, but there's also a very dangerous place and a good way to die. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just say right on the other side of it. So we're getting ready for the new circle to pop in just about 5 seconds. See where we're going to go. You have to make an assumption that a lot of these teams that are playing back over towards the edge are going to have to move. And okay, there we go. 303 Fabled Sonics. They get a little bit of a gift in this one. Wildcard and Illusion are strong teams that have multiple members still up, are the ones that are going to have to make the move.
I mean, that's a perfect shift for them, but obviously both teams occupying that Mime, the last remaining Sonics member, and obviously 2 members of 303 still up. Illusion, still 3 members up. They've got 2 two-seaters here, looking like they're trying to wrap around onto the south side of the road, maybe try and pressure Fabled away from this spot, and they should be in a decent position to do so, Matt. If they can convert any of this damage early on, you can see Icy Flex open up with the Mini 14 on the mini-map, but they need to deal with this quickly. Next circle coming in 7 seconds, and this one moves quick.
Smokes have come down for Fabled. That's going to stall out Illusion. They're not going to have clean sight lines to work with right now, so it's going to buy time. And right now, any time that Fabled can try to get will turn out in their favor. It means that Illusion is going to have to make a move. Yep, just going to try to creep their way forward. 303 still taking a couple of shots. Keep in mind, Mime is still alive inside that same complex. 303 hasn't had a chance to clear him out just yet. Question comes into play. How are the rest of these teams going to handle it? We're watching how Illusion is making their move, but Wildcard's going to have to make a move as well in just a second. They double up on the motorcycle. Looks like it's just time to send it back over next to Free Me Please. They might have themselves just right here on the edge. A little bit of a hill to work with, and that's going to be their new home for right now. We're going to have to see if they can make any work out of it. But let's say, hey, let's add more people. This is the most popular spot to live in Miramar right now. You got Sonics holding down a building. You got 303, and you got Wildcard another one. But hey, there's still another building. Fabled, Illusion, why don't you guys go over there and take down the other side of it? As Wildcard's still looking back over towards Illusion, and not a lot of work that they can move forward. Really, it's Illusion, all pressure back over towards them as they are so close to the edge. Good shot coming out from Top Dog. Big play to buy a little bit more space and time, but Sharpshot should be able to get the res on him.
Yeah, Sharpshot will res. Penta will trade back out into Free Me, so that stops any craziness happening on the back of that knock. I like Wildcard's setup, but next phase, it's going to be problematic if they can't get the other 2 members into the circle. Penta just looking for, I mean, any snakes or anything just thrown in their way into this one, but all they have is this hay bale. And there you go. Ooh. That's, yeah. I mean, at this point, the compound's becoming less and less a factor in the circle with it being so heavily gifted. But Illusion do get sliced out with that new circle posting. Fabled now in a crucial position that they have to defend if they want to make it through to the top 3.
Pressure back over towards the remaining duo that is not inside the complex for Wildcard. And see if maybe their teammates can buy a little bit of space. But at this point, I don't know if you want to tangle with 303. They got some pretty firm defense going on with there. Good shot's going to come out from Sharpshot. That might be the opening. Grenades are starting to rain back that direction.
Mime's going to make a move off this, I think.
Go for the Molotov onto it, but again, I don't think it's going to connect off of it. Mime wants to make a play, but just can't quite do it. Going to spot him out. A little bit of damage goes back over towards Sharp Shot, but not going to be enough to get the down. Is that going to give the space to the other two members? Yes, Wildcard now firmly regrouping. They've got all 4 members in this complex, and they know that they can make it work. They can now take control over this complex, take control over the game. All pressure now shifts over toward the defensive line, but it looks like Illusion's going to try to make the same play. Gets instantly dropped out. The motorcycle goes sliding off into the distance. Fabled has to dodge as it comes through. Now 1 member up. Make that none as Illusion does get taken down. Wildcard now firmly in control over the center of this circle. Just has to be careful as one of their members do have 2 members of 303 up on top of them.
I love that collapse from Wildcard. As soon as the knock comes in, you see the other 2 members go for it. As long as they pressure the res, they know that they can't die running in the open. Now Penta looking to make... I mean, this is risky from Penta here because you can see just how easy this line of sight is from that furthest right member of Fabled. So he's got to be careful here because I want to see them keep 4 up and make a play for the star in Phase 8. Going to see, obviously, this one coming in the next couple of seconds. Now, all right, we're going to see how it all ends, Matt.
So here's the thing. The center, I believe, is on the road. So while these complexes are a big factor, they're not necessarily a requirement to clear out right now. You can throw a couple of grenades, throw the Molotovs, maybe see if you get something out of it. But as long as you can defend closer back over towards the road, that could be benefit. So Fable actually finds themselves in a pretty decent predicament right now. With all of this fighting going on, they might be in a position just to capitalize and get a lot of work and take down everybody as they try to leave out of this. Boxic is just clear to the side of the wall. Boxic stepping forward. He hears the footsteps and what's going on. The other 2 members of 303 trying to figure, or the other member of 303 is trying to figure out how they're going to handle this. Looks like they're going to double up. We've already seen this go really awry for one team. Pentalol steps up, does get flashed. Keenan tries to go for the shots, does get one of them down. Peeking back over. Wildcard wants blood, and they're going to get it. 303 gets eliminated, and now they start to look on the outside. But here is the question. Do they have the slightest inkling that Mime could be behind them if they make a move?
Well, Mime actually opened up onto them, and again, they should have rezzed that the 303 member was getting rezzed upstairs, and somebody still shot at them. So if they have the kill feed knowledge, now that they've wiped 303 and got that insta-kill, they should know that this is a solo. I love the roof play here, trying to get an upward angle onto Fabled, but also cutting off line of sights from anybody that could be potentially under them in the form of Mime. Wildcard actually playing this one really, really well, Matt.
Yeah, Wildcard is coming alive. Notice how much they're creeping up on that leaderboard. Shoot to Kill has themselves a lead, but this could be a huge game for Wildcard to get them right within touching distance of Shoot to Kill. Wildcard's Jazz is still holding down the upper point, creeping forward, trying to get a little bit more information on what's going on. Keep in mind, Mime is still back behind them. If we see the last member of Sonics choose to take the active moment whenever Fabled starts going for their shots, that could be huge for them. Jazz is still creeping up. Finally gets a little bit of vision, goes for the spray back over to it, and he goes down. That could be huge, but no, it's going to be Hella that goes down as well. Tanaka's taken a lot of damage, creeping back up along the road, down to 4 life. Keep in mind, Mime is back behind this. Tanaka tries to get a little bit of damage off, but Wildcard jumps down. Mime goes down very quickly as well, and that is a huge game for Wildcard, moving up within 5 points of Shoot to Kill off of a massive 9-kill victory.
Yeah, and like I said, the crucial thing in that game was damage control from Shoot to Kill. Again, Wildcard's still not passing them, but what a fantastic opportunity there from Wildcard, and they've absolutely capitalized on it. They played that fantastically. I said it in the early game. They're strong in these North Monty circles. This one was a little off kilter, but so happy to see them come away with the win in that game.
What stood out to me was whenever you saw the 2-2 split coming up from Wildcard.
Yes.
One, they were aggressive enough just to send it up to the complex where they knew the fighting was happening, and they held it down and sent 2 more members back. The circle then moved directly on the complex. They had 2 members that were in a very dangerous position, couldn't really run across equally as 303 would just tear them to shreds. Instead, they managed to get enough of a distraction, get a knock, get some attention drawn down to the guys that are on the ground, on the doorsteps of 303, and drew all of 303's attention to where their other 2 members could cross a wide open plane to make it up, regroup, and then take the end game with 4 players up and alive.
Yeah, that collapse onto the compound was huge. Yeah. And again, it might have looked like an overinvestment of utility, but they absolutely needed to guarantee to make their chances as good as possible to win that, to get the other 2 members in. They achieved exactly that. Mime almost causing an upset with the knock in the open garage on the back side of that, but luckily Wildcard manages to negate most of the angles Mime would have had to pressure them. But again, huge from Mime to come out with second place, 9 kills for Sonics.
But don't forget, Mime also had that crazy 200 IQ grenade where he threw it in, managed to pick up a kill off of that one. Great plays coming up from Sonics. But guys, that's the last of us casting inside of Miramar, so we're going to throw it back over towards our analyst. You take it away.
We know take candle, but we will take the throw. Great game from the guys. Sonics, like they said, 9 kills, just to confirm. I know it was a... Hypoc was a little bit like, I don't know. It was 9. It was epic. Wildcard comes out with the win. But for me, guys, the Sonics, 2 games in a row, putting up big numbers, Clover.
I mean, this is what we really needed to see from them. Finally finding some cohesion. Last week, I think we were a bit worried. And, you know, this is good. This is really healthy. They're climbing up on the leaderboard and had some really good positions to this. But, I mean, it's something that we kind of talked about as well, is that Liberate is a bit on the opposite. And some of these other teams that are down near the bottom are kind of, I don't want to say maybe letting loose, but they're really not putting forth the plays that we know that they're capable of. And so we kind of take a look at the top of the leaderboard with Wildcard and Sonics and some of these other squads that are really chasing, maybe even not first place, but for the second, third, and fourth. We're seeing, at least with these first 2 matches, who's really trying it. And another team who's really trying here is Wildcard. Because, all right, no kills last game, but they really popped off this one, and it was a well-deserved chicken.
Godspeed. No kills last game, but they've got good placement, so this is wild card. This is so we said they kick up. They kick up.
Yeah, I mean, when Wildcard shows up, they definitely get a lot of kills, but again, to me, it's just, again, hot and cold. However, Wildcard is making an excellent case of why they are potentially going to win this event, especially with that game. But again, to Sonics is just killing it. 2 back-to-back games, both in the top 2, racking up kills, racking up points. Yes, they arguably started a little lower, and you need to, kind of get the points to catch up to the top teams. But they're doing it, man, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it comes down to, is we want to see the teams that we expected to perform step up and perform. I think Oath and Sonics have both been disappointing sort of in the lead up to the last couple of days. Oath stepped out yesterday, and I don't know what's happening today. Sonics also, big step up, and I'm glad to see it. I mean, we saw trash talk with Hypoc yesterday between the Sonics and STK. That segment exists because they should be a top 1 and 2, right, Clover?
I mean, entirely. And really, when we look back on the leaderboard through all of PCS1, that's really reflected a lot of that. I think some of the reason why we give some of these other teams, a lot of flack is the fact that they are kind of dropping that ball right now. But that said, I mean, this is really what we want to see from both of these squads. We want to see kills. We want to see those placement points. We want to see all aspects of the game come out in full. And, with this being the last day of the finals, you've got to bring your best foot forward. So for the Sonics to finally kind of show us what they've made of, climb up to the top of the leaderboard, they've left the right side behind entirely. We saw them a little bit lower on the left to start, and now they're in the top 5. And, I mean, it's well deserved for that.
You say leaderboard, I say let's take a look at it. Match leaderboards are ready, so we'll take a bit of a look back at how this one went. Pull that up on the screen, and I think see what stands out to us. I know that we know the top. It's good to see a return to form by Wildcard Sonics and Fabled, a team who started this event in top 4, finally comes up and gets 7 kills, 12 points. But on the opposite side of that, Godspeed, we've got 3 points on Oath. The Houston Hardshifts, only
Hardshifts with
0.
Yeah.
Radiance, 1. Exodus. Okay, listen. Exodus has dodged conversation for 4 days. Let's talk about him.
I mean, I talked about him again last week. I just feel like that team doesn't have a true leader, and that's their biggest issue. I really think that's what they've struggled with, or maybe are struggling with now. I don't see a clear, strong voice. I know Pat has probably tried, but I just don't know if that's the role that he's ready to fill. He's just a disgustingly talented fragger. I mean, that quickscope clip says everything it needs to about Pat. He's nuts. But yeah, I just don't know I don't know what the formula on that team is, but it's clearly not really working. They have flashes in the pan, but yeah, I don't know. And back to Oath, I mean, it just happens. They just not have had a good, closing out of this event. They still have some games to go. I'm still not giving up hope, but I'm not sure if it's possible.
While you check your messages, we'll take a look at damage top 5. Honey Badger at 600. But Wildcard, again, Clover, they are just turning up.
I mean, this was kind of really the start of the day when I was trying to pick who it was. It was really a toss-up between Wildcard and SDK. I just felt that SDK had a bit of advantage on this, but Wildcard's kind of proving that they deserve to be here, as we really saw, you know, I think maybe they felt the anger about not having any of those kills and lacking a bit in damage for that first match. They really came out to show it for this one. Keenan and Jazza were just really healthy, and so now as you kind of take a look at this leaderboard, and you see that they've put themselves up into second place with 154 points. That's just 5 behind Shoot to Kill, and so if they can completely play like this for the rest of today, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that they could even take this away and win it.
Godspeed, Shoot to Kill started the day with a 5-point lead over Wildcard. They extended that to 15 after the last match, and now Wildcard pulls them back into 5. Do you expect to see this rubber banding, strong arm game going back and forth between these two teams the rest of the day?
Yeah, I believe as the games go on, I think Wildcard knows how close they are. So does Sonics. They're within striking distance, arguably even Zenith. So I don't want to count anyone out, and I think that as it starts getting close to the last game, they're really going to be gunning for those points, and hopefully we see an exciting finish. I mean, that's what you always want to hope for, especially in a finals or grand finals.
We talk about top 5 kills here as we look at it overall, and we talked a little about earlier, Clover. Kills seem to sort of be the defining factor in these tournaments. Purdy and Alo from STK are in the top 5. We don't have anybody from Wildcard in the kill leads.
No, but I think that if they can really show us that it's not just about placement points, this is a team that has forgotten a lot, then we're going to start to see their name up here even a bit more. I mean, that said, though, with dedication to the kills, I mean, we saw Luke run into the blue to try and get that kill on Oath. It unfortunately didn't work out. It was Alo who ended up being the one to get it, but that's really reflecting here again when we see those kills, those damage, about why Sonics and SDK are in here, because they're constantly looking for creative ways to get them.
I like how you put a positive spin on what I would call ridiculous bloodlust. You're like, dedication to kills, and I love that. But there are points where it just feels like bloodlust sometimes. I mean, we saw a couple of W pushes today that were a bit much. On the opposite side of that, I do want to give a shout-out. Godspeed, you saw it, and I think you did too, Clover, that illusion transition that we saw when they were in a really bad spot. The shift went towards Fable. That was like, if you guys want to learn to rotate, go back and watch that end of that game. That was textbook play. Godspeed, talk to me a little bit about why that was so impressive.
I mean, just the fact that they used what was in front of them, that they had scattered out, you know, the area in front of them. They knew they didn't really have any plays to utilize, so they decided to go to a position that, although it wasn't in the circle, that gave them even more visibility of the situation ahead of them, which is where Fabled was. They decided to then take their time, maybe take a few shots. They initially got one to anchor in the middle, finally where they ended up dying halfway between Fabled in that kind of gully, in that ditch. And they just methodically went from spot to spot, kind of leapfrogging, taking their time to make sure, even with the blue, you know, coming in at their back, that they were effectively moving into the circle without just blindly, you know, driving in. And we've seen that so many times. Teams just kind of send it and it just never works out. Illusion could have done that, but instead they took their time. They used the sight lines that they had available to them, and they made smart rotation choices. Now, did they, you know, they died, obviously, coming in, but that was also a rough spot. But realistically, I don't really know if there was a better play other than to maybe crash the small compound and colors where Wildcard was. But overall, that was just such an intelligent play, and I think that team is going to be moving forward, soaking up all the experience and just getting better and better.
We're going to take a break in a second. Before we do, Clover, I just saw never mind. All right, we're going to the break right now. We got 5 minutes. We'll be back. You guys are taking the cast on the next one, and we'll have a new desk joining me in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more PUBG.